Hey y'all, welcome back to this week's episode of AMA Friday with Amy Miller, Recruiting in Yoga Pants. So we are revisiting another old topic. I have a very old video on this that we will not be revisiting around levels and titles. So this is an interesting one. This is, I think there's two kinds of people. There are those that care deeply about this number and these words, and those that don't. People tend to fit one or the other pretty solidly. There's rarely a middle ground there. This is either very, very important to you and you need to know and you need to hit certain, goals you've set for yourself, or you're like me and you don't care. I used to care. I will say this. I used to care a lot. I remember back in the day as a staffing agency, big biller, I wanted that manager title. I wanted that senior title like that. It meant something to me mentally. I don't know why. I don't remember anymore. Looking back, why? Why did that matter to you? I think, as I'm kind of sitting here psychoanalyzing myself a little bit, I think it was less about the title and more about what it represented to me. More about the interpretation of what that meant for my reputation, my growth, my career, certainly my compensation. Care a lot about that. And so as I've grown in my career, I've learned some hard lessons about leveling and titling and how, frankly, they don't always mean the same thing at different places. And that, my friends, is why this conversation matters. I have worked with people in the past who have had a serious reaction to being made a level 6 offer at Google. Okay. Now, let me give you a little backstory. Okay, I'm gonna use myself as the example here. Okay, so I worked my way up through the ranks in agency, and got into corporate recruiting, entered my corporate role, got promoted to a senior recruiter. Okay, fine. So I'm a senior recruiter now at a smallish, mid-size-ish company, about 1,000 people maybe in the entire company. And I gave that up to go be a contract recruiter at Microsoft. There was a method to my madness. I had every confidence that I was going to be converted to full-time, so I took a chance on myself. Thank God it paid off. But here's the thing. I was a senior recruiter, moving into this contract sourcing role now. Go through an interview loop pretty quickly. I converted very fast at Microsoft. They brought me in as a level 61. That is not senior. That is nowhere near senior, okay? That's like a click or two up from a college hire. And I remember being a little low-key offended for a minute. I've been recruiting for 15 years. What do they mean I'm like a junior recruiter? Oh, friends, I didn't know what I didn't know. Okay. And I will tell you, because this was my first foray into FANG or MANG or Manja or whatever the heck we're calling it these days, big tech, my first big tech role, I am so grateful that the interviewers, the panel, my manager, the people involved in hiring me made that decision. That level, no one's walking around, no one's posting on LinkedIn, I'm a level 61 recruiter at Microsoft. No one's saying that. It doesn't matter. It's an internal mechanism to attach a compensation range and a set of expectations to your job. That's what a level is for, okay? Externally means nothing. Internally, it ties to a couple of things. I am so grateful that I was brought in at that level because I was brought in at a level where I could succeed and I could exceed expectations. When your bonus is tied to your ranking, you best believe you want to be a top performer. Show me the money. I would have failed if they had brought me in at a senior recruiter. So thankfully I was promoted a couple times through my time at Microsoft. I was able to get in and learn and grow and scale. But I had to come in at the right starting point. That was very important. Could I have gone somewhere else and had a senior or even principal title? Absolutely. Would I have made less money? Also, yes. So that was an eye-opener for me. And this is what I'm going to encourage you to think about, where I'm looking at this offer. I'm like, okay, first of all, it's like $20K more than I said I was going to not, consider less than. It's like a job I loved. I knew I wanted to be full-time at Microsoft. I was really enjoying my contract role. So like all these good things are there, and I'm over here like getting hung up on the level. What? Like, I want to go smack, like, younger me. Like, what were you even thinking? So that's where understanding what that level represents is really important. Okay? It came with a comp range, like I mentioned. Comp, very, very happy with. It came with a set of expectations. Okay, great. This I can be good at. And then get better. And then get better. And then get promoted. That's why it worked. That's why I'm happy things worked the way they did all the way back, 15 years ago, whatever it was, 12 years ago. Okay. That's one part. Titles. People get hung up on titles too. Okay. Now here's the thing. That level that we just talked about, that's typically tied to an internal title. Like in my most recent role, I was a recruiter 3. What does that even mean? I mean, that's where we get the senior designation. So that is considered a senior, which is fine. But again, like no one's policing this. I can call myself whatever I want on LinkedIn. I could be the grand poobah of recruiting. No, who's going to stop me? I don't know. My skip level likes to like comment on things and like comment sometimes. And maybe I should behave. Sorry, C. but in all seriousness, though, all kidding aside, like I could call myself whatever I wanted on LinkedIn. No one cares. Even internally, no one really discusses it. And this is actually one of the things I like about big tech. We don't really care about that. We recognize there's more to the story than title. So you'll see a ton of senior people. You'll see a ton of not senior people. The cool thing about that is that it's, again, tied to a level, which is then tied to expectations and compensation. But that level can be huge. And so you can grow significantly in level for years. You don't necessarily have to chase the promotion. What I would encourage you to chase is the scope and scale. I would encourage you to chase the responsibility. I would encourage you to chase the achievements and accomplishments. That's what you should be thinking about. And now, so I'm going to kind of close out with this idea, okay? Now, as a manager myself, having those conversations with my team, thinking about the future, what growth looks like for me, for them, for people I mentor. And whenever someone tells me, hey, I really want to get promoted, the first thing I ask is, what does that represent to you? You want to get promoted because if you're chasing the money, that's wonderful. That's a great reason to want to get promoted. I want to make more money. Love that. Let's figure out how we get there. I want more responsibility. I like where you're going with this. Let's talk about how we can do that, how we can carve out projects for you, how we can get you aligned to the right things. Turn that into something you can define and work towards. If I say, I want to be a senior manager, oh, honey, we are years away from that, if ever. Okay. And I'm okay with that. But let's pretend I want to be a senior manager. Okay. Why? Well, I want to grow and develop other managers. I want to have a larger circle of influence where I'm spanning, multiple business groups, not just my own. That is now something I can work towards. That is now a long-term stretch goal I can work backwards from and set mini goals to get me there. So, friends, as you are entertaining opportunities, whether you're thinking about applying to a role or thinking about an offer or thinking about internal growth and mobility, if you are employed and just thinking about how to get to the next step, try to look at it through the lens of opportunity and not title or level. That can be very misleading, but scope and scale, that we can define and that we can work towards. All right? I don't know if I covered everything I wanted to cover in this conversation, but I'm 10 minutes in, so I'm going to stop there. I'm going to see how that lands with y'all. Let me know down below if you have questions or comments or thoughts on this. I personally, again, just feel very fortunate that I've worked for companies, especially in the last decade, where this is not a big deal and we are not real big on titles. And I love that. I actually appreciate that a lot. I don't feel like I have to chase a title to have influence. I have influence through the work that I do and the cool things that I accomplish. So if you chase those things, the money, the respect, and yeah, eventually the level and title will follow. All right, y'all. Hope that helps. We'll see you next week.